Manners and respect, guys. Manners and respect to each and every one. This is the resistance. Go ahead, guys, and mark yourself present by going and hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you like it and continue to comment, and don't forget to subscribe. People want to know why is it this case is dragging on for so long. Why is it dragging on for so long? More want to know the Prime Minister's association with this man, people. So we're not going to wait no longer. We're going to get tonight, and these people try to fight the case tooth and nail. Them try to go to prison. Let's see what they've been doing behind the scenes, people. Let's get at it. Come on, follow me. And this report is from TVJ 3 years ago.
Former Education Minister Ruel Reid and CMU President Professor Fritz Pinnock will continue to face the court on fraud-related charges following today's ruling by the Supreme Court.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes has refused an application for leave for judicial review, basically sending the men back to the parish court. Details of the 32-page ruling in this report.
Ruel, Reid and Professor Fritz Pinnock went to the High Court requesting leave to challenge the authority's decision to charge them. Put another way, they wanted to quash the fraud-related charges in the multi-million-dollar corruption case involving the Caribbean Maritime University CMU and the Education Ministry. Through their attorneys led by Hugh Wildman, both men argued that the Financial Investigations Division FID is purely an investigative body, and it does not have the power to arrest and charge anyone. Chief Justice Brian Sykes agreed. He went on to say, however, that it was officers of the Jamaica Constabulary Force that arrested Pinnock and Reid. Interestingly, though, the Chief Justice pointed out that those police officers are not designated under Section 2 of the FID Act, and if they used any unauthorized powers, it might raise admissibility issues which can be addressed during a criminal trial. Lawyers for Reid and Pinnock also argued that the fiat granted to attorneys Richard Small and Sherry Lee Bolton was invalid. The Chief Justice pointed out that the Director of Public Prosecutions is authorized to grant fiats to attorneys to prosecute a criminal matter. Plus, it was the lawyers that got the fiat, not the FID. In conclusion, Brian Sykes ruled that lawyers representing Reid and Pinnock cited no exceptionally good reason, and so there's no factual basis for granting a judicial review. Dr. Fritz Pinnock, Counselor for the Brownstown Division Kim Brown Lawrence, Ruel Reid, his wife Sharon and daughter Cheryl are scheduled to return to the St. Andrew Parish Court on January 23. Investigators claim that over $56 million was diverted from the CMU and Education Ministry for personal use.
So as you can hear, them claims that the feds can't lock them up. Shouldn't have no jurisdiction over them and no power over them and yada yada yada. So them go to the highest court in the land, the highest court in Jamaica land, turn them down. So they did not stop there, people. Them step a bit further. Them got England to the Privy Council. Let's hear the ruling from the Privy Council. Let's listen.
Former Education Minister Ruel Reid and ex-president of the Caribbean Maritime University, CMU, Fritz Pinnock, have lost their bid to have the Privy Council, Jamaica's final appellate court, dismiss corruption charges against them. Last week, the UK-based court refused their application, ruling that the Jamaican Parish Court, where the case was first brought, should decide whether the Financial Investigations Division has the authority to charge them.
So the case is kicked back to Jamaica. So the government of Jamaica have the duty to put this man behind bars. Let's get back to the inception. Let's get back to the first time we hear the news about this man. This is back in October of 2019. Listen.
Former Education Minister Ruel Reid, his wife Sharon, and their daughter Cheryl have been arrested in a major corruption probe. The president of the Caribbean Maritime University, Professor Fritz Pinnock, and the counselor of the Brownstown Division in St. Anne, Kim Brown Lawrence, have also been arrested. They were picked up in simultaneous pre-dawn operations at their homes in St. Andrew, St. Catherine, and St. Anne this morning. Law enforcement officers of the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, and the Financial Investigation Division, FID, encircled their houses as they swooped down this morning.
And even Ruel Reid driver and his helper was implicated in all this. Do you hear me? The woman was about 65-year-old. The driver and the helper getting involved in all of this nonsense. Come and listen to this.
Meanwhile, the CMU has admitted to making payments of more than $700,000 over a 4-month period on invoices in the name of Devon McQueen, the former driver of the sacked Education Minister Ruel Reid. The driver has, however, denied that he had a contract with the CMU.
That's over $700,000, almost $1 million in a 4 month. That's only 4 months, you know. You understand me? The driver denies him have any contract with the CMU. Now work with them. So how come that means the money I go towards the driver and the driver now get it, right? So that means that there's a fake contract with the driver and it a report to the CMU, say money I come out, I pay this driver. And the driver said, me not have no contract with the CMU, so basically, me no know nothing. So make us swear the help have to say now. Because it look like this man used both of them. The domestic helper of the Reid family, Doreen Miller, was caught in the midst of the scandal earlier this year, but said that the family only used her as a pawn to conduct their criminal activities. She was not among those who were probed and charged by MOCA. So remember earlier we talked about Devon McQueen, the fake name that was used to siphon off over $700,000 from CMU for his driver, and the driver came out and denied that he had anything to do with CMU contract. He's not working with them, but this fake name, Mr. McQueen, is supposed to get almost $1 million. Let's listen how the whole thing went down with the helper. Let's listen, people.
Her own words. These are mostly direct quotes. This is Doreen Miller. She says, I want my name cleared because I have never worked in any official capacity as a helper for Mr. Reid or his family. I've only done part-time work with them when I'm off on leave from my usual job at Jamaica College. And she said that she had worked at the school for more than 4 decades before being recruited by Reid in 2016. She also says that Reid asked her to open a bank account through which the Ministry of Education could route funds to pay a helper. She said, at the time, I was on contract, but agreed to open the account. I was under the impression that since I would have still been working at JC, the account would be active to pay someone else who would be working as the helper, since he concluded he wanted a helper. I did it and said when my contract is up, I would take up the post with him. My contract was to be up in 2 years, in 2018. And it says the account was eventually opened at a branch of CIBC First Caribbean International Bank in St. Andrew. And she said that she was accompanied by a family member of Reid and was eventually directed to hand over the debit card for the freshly opened account to the same relative. And she said that person, who's a woman, instructed her to use a particular PIN for the debit card. So the person gave her the PIN to use, and she had to turn over the debit card. So she was never in control of that account, according to Miller. So she's saying one day last year, 2018, I was at home and I received a call from another of Mr. Reid's family members telling me to meet her at the bank. While there, I was asked to authorize the withdrawal of $1 million, which I did. According to her, between 2016, when the account was opened, and up to the time she authorized the $1 million withdrawal, she never had access to the card, nor was she aware of details of deposits to and withdrawals from the account or the source of income. She said she was told to write a check in the name of another close family member of Reid to cover medical expenses for that person's father, who was ill at the time. And she says last year again, she was asked to go and repin the card in the presence of the same family member. And the same family member again gave her a specific number for the pin. And she said she was shocked when there was a pre-dawn operation on March 7 and police came knocking at her door demanding the debit card. She said she didn't have it. She only showed them some $9,000 that she had for the church bus. And, things continued from there. She said she's depressed and she almost dropped down at church. Well, she said she did. She fainted at church and all of that. Yeah. So this is what happened.
That was Kayla Reynolds' report from Kayla Reynolds Media. Go and check out people with reporting. Guys, I'm about to read an article for you from CNW News, dated October 17, 2019. Let's take and put some context to this thing. Make you know who is this man, where he's from, and what have you. When the former principal of Jamaica College, Ruel Reid, was elevated to the position of Minister of Education following the 2016 general elections, the governing party led by Prime Minister Andrew Onis was confident that Reid would become one of the most successful education ministers the country had ever seen. Reid was popular among educators in Jamaica, having served as president of the Jamaica's Teachers Association from 2005 to 2016. But instead of becoming one of the most successful ministers in Jamaica, Reid chose the life of a political criminal in one of those biggest scandals that Jamaica has ever seen this year, that's 2019. Allegations first came to light in March when Ruel Reid was accused of corruption and nepotism at the Ministry of Education and the Caribbean Maritime University, CMU, of which Reid was responsible. Following the allegations, Reid was from both ministry and the Senate, and a full investigation led by the Financial Investigation Division, FID, and the Major Organized Crime Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, was launched against the former education minister. What exactly did Ruel Reid and company do? Investigations have alleged that over $50 million of public funds were diverted to the personal use of Ruel Reid and CMU President Professor Fritz Pinnock through a number of schemes, including one that mirrors the Career Advancement Program Youth Employment Solutions. Reid is also alleged to have instructed Professor Pinnock, among other things, to hire his wife, Sharon Reid, who was in fact manager of legal affairs at CMU. Reid's wife and daughter, Cheryl Reid, who graduated from CMU, were also said to have access to over $1 million on a debit card that was connected to an account at the CMU. The domestic helper of the Reid family, Doreen Miller, was caught in the midst of the scandal earlier this year. But she said that the family only used her as a pawn to conduct their criminal activities. She was not among those that were probed and charged by MOCA. The councillor for Brownstown Division, St. Ann, Kim Brown Lawrence, however, was investigated and accused of being awarded a contract from CMU without actually aiding or providing services to the university. On Wednesday, October 9th, after months of investigation, the houses of Reid, Pinnock, and Brown Lawrence were searched, and they, along with Reid's wife and daughter, were taken into police custody. Ruel Reid was charged with the breaches of the Corruption Prevention Act, conspiracy to defraud, misconduct in public office at the common law, and breaches of the Proceeds of Crime Act, according to the release from the joint investigating agencies. The following day, all five were released and on bail. Reid was granted a bail in the sum of $3 million and ordered with one or two sureties. His wife Sharon was granted bail in the sum of $1 million, and his daughter Cheryl $500,000. All three were ordered to report to the Matilda's Corner Police Station every Wednesday and Saturday. They were ordered to surrender their travel documents, and a stop order has been placed against them. They were fingerprinted and warned them that they should not be seen at the Ministry of Education or the Caribbean Maritime Institute, the CMU. Pinnock was given bail in the sum of $2 billion, while Kim Brown Lawrence, councillor for the Brownstown Division in Northwest St. Ann, was given bail in the sum of $1 million. Pinnock will report to the Greater Portmore Police Station, while Lawrence will report to the Brownstown Police Station every Wednesday and Saturday. Both have the same bail conditions as Reid and family. They are all to return to court January 23, 2020. People, as you can see, they fought it, even to the highest court in Jamaica, surpassed that to the highest court for Jamaica, which is in England. And it was kicked back to Jamaica court, so now it's in the hands of the Jamaica system. So now the case is back to Jamaica. It's kicked back from England in Jamaica's justice system. But now we have a message from Mr. Delroy Chuck. Let's hear what the Justice Minister, Mr. Delroy Chuck, has to say about this. Let's hear the message he's trying to give us. Let's hear his message, people. Tell me what you think about his message in the comment section.
I have very little information apart from what is in the press. What is interesting is that the DPP seem to have had no additional material or evidence, and what seems so unfortunate that the arrest took place, which looks like Nicodemus in the night. I don't get the impression that these persons are actually running away. They have made themselves available on all occasions. So in fact, if an arrest should have been made, they could easily have been asked to come in so that they could be charged. And in these persons' cases, if they're to be charged, the impression I suspect that they could easily have been granted their own bail, because these are persons, or they could be asked to surrender their travel documents, as the case may be. I think it's unfortunate that it has become so salacious in that, you put so many persons at these people's gate. And it appears in some instances, from the little I've heard, is further search and further search for more material. So it seems like the authorities are still not sure what they're looking for. But then again, you ask the question, as the leader of the opposition has indicated, why are these investigations taking so long? Come to a conclusion. If you don't have the material, report that there's not enough material to charge. But if you go and you charge, be careful that you charge on very limited evidence, with the end result that the cases may not go very far, and that would undermine the sort of confidence that you would have in the institution if you proceed to charge on very limited evidence and the cases turn out to be weak or dismissed by the court. I don't know the evidence, but at the end of the day, we must be very professional in what we do. And I hope the assessment of what has been done by these agencies can demonstrate professionalism. That's all I would ask.
My definition of what the Justice Minister is saying, Mr. Delroy Chuck, is that them shouldn't have treated Ruel Reid like a common criminal. Them shouldn't treat him like the handcart man, the youth that TV2 hockey. Them should have treated him good with white gloves. That's my definition of what me getting from the Justice Minister. You guys can tell me in the comment section what you think. Now let's listen what kind of message the DPP want to send. Let's listen what the DPP has to say on this, people. Comment and tell me what you think about it.
The Director of Public Prosecution says she first heard about the early morning operations via the media. Paula Llewellyn says she was not further consulted prior to the operations. At the same time, she points out that the police do not need to have dialogue with her office about operational matters. Still, is this move by the police unusual?
In my experience, when you have a high public interest matter, it would not be unusual for them to give us the heads up that this is the next stage that they may be going to. Because of course all of this will be confidential. It was not really done in this case, but I'm not going to pause.
Ms. Llewellyn argues that the Privy Council has also delivered a judgment in the case of the Commissioner of Police and Ested Roy Benjamin in Antigua, which speaks about the police and the primacy of decision-making. Essentially, the DPP in Antigua argued that Mr. Benjamin should not be prosecuted. The Antiguan Police Commissioner disagreed.
The Privy Council made the point. No DPP or no prosecutor can indicate or instruct a police officer not to initiate prosecution.
But in that particular case, the Privy Council also went further.
They made the point that it is an unwise investigator who ignores or treats with disrespect the recommendations of the prosecutor, because in the final analysis, after the initiation of prosecution, the matter comes before the purview of the court and is in the hands of the prosecutor.
Right back to the hands of the prosecutor. Let's take a step further. What is Ruel Reid's relationship, association with the Prime Minister? Let's listen, people.
Minister Reid and myself, we've had a very good professional relationship. from his days as president of the JTA. I was opposition spokesman on education. We see eye to eye on education issues. He was my advisor. We have mutual friends. You know, as Prime Minister, my job is to keep my ears to the ground. So you don't always have to have evidence, but you need to have information. So information comes to me by all kinds of means. And when information is brought to my attention, then the ministerially responsible thing to do is to investigate, put in a process of discovery. And that's what I have done in all issues that have come. So if an allegation is made, I will call in the person against whom the allegation is made. We'll ask questions. We'll have a conversation. Many times it's heart to heart. Many times it is, you know, this is what has to happen. A direction is given. So that was the process that I believe. I from time to time, will communicate with former Minister Reid. There are still issues on education, which you will send me a note on. I will hear what he has to say. But obviously, you know, I don't have the luxury of, you know, frequent communication. Once I had knowledge of the allegations that were made, I had no choice, obviously, but to bring the minister before me, have a conversation about the issues that are now subsequently public knowledge, and ensure that there can be integrity in the process. It would have been, I think, an erosion of integrity of the entire system of government were that process not to be engaged. I think what we have suffered from for a very long time, even in the previous administrations, when these issues have been raised, no one is held to account. The difference with this government is the ministers have been brought in, we had our conversation, and they have submitted their resignation.
So as I know, people, the Prime Minister did accept Mr. Ruel Reid's resignation, and Mr. Reid, in return, rode off into the sunset with a $23.3 million retirement settlement package. Do you hear me, people? The Minister of Education is to provide $16.1 million to the embattled former cabinet minister, while JC will pay an additional $7.2 million. Okay, guys, you have heard from DPP, Kayla, Krista. You have also heard from the Prime Minister. You have heard from Mr. Chuck. People, I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Support this page by liking it and sharing it, people. Go ahead and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you. Jamaica to the world. Manners and respect out there.